This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Boom, ready to go. There she is. You know, Michelle, LaShawn McCoy went off on Bill Belichick, right? And he was saying, talking about his record without Brady and not having success and all that kind of stuff. And he hasn't had any success. And so I was having a little fun with this. Joe Gibbs, for me, did the greatest accomplishment, even better than Shula's 17-0, winning 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks. None of them are Hall of Famers, which is impressive when you're winning with Doug Williams, Mark Rippon, and Joe Theismann. None are Hall of Famers, and you won 3 titles. Shula made it with Unitas, made it with Marino, made it with Greasy, made it with Woodstock. Bill Walsh won it with Young and Montana. Phil Jackson, yeah, you gave him the talent, but he still won it with the Bulls. And then he took over the same team Del Harris had in LA and won a title. So the great coaches go back and have significant success with other individuals. Does Bill Belichick have to have significant success with somebody else other than Brady, like Brady has without him, in order to really have that GOAT label? He's muted. Oh, no, no.
Myself. Sorry, had to unmute myself. Okay. Yes, I think that yes, a coach. There are a lot of good coaches out there, but the best ones, the ones that are the goats, the best ones are the ones that can manage without having stars on their team, or the ones that manage a lot of egos on their teams. I mean, coaches who just have, a star player that carries them or largely carries them, and that's the one leader of the team, and that player is really the one who is the reason that the team is doing so well. I think that that's not as impressive as the coaches that you mentioned who win without stars, and I'll throw
or win with different stars,
or win with different
proving that
stars.
their system is, or they adjust their system, because obviously Shula played a completely different game with Marino and Greasy and Woodstock. My Lord, those are 3 completely different teams that went to the Super Bowls.
Yeah, I think definitely Don Shula fits in that category. And I'm just mentioning this name, not throwing him into the goats of all time, just in talking about what makes a coach a good coach. Jim Larinaga, I used him as an example in college basketball, a guy who took George Mason to the Final Four with a bunch of nobodies that if you would have asked any of the coaches that he beat in that tournament, whether they would have traded rosters, the answer would have been absolute no, thank you. We don't want the B-list George Mason players. And he went and beat all these good players. And then here at UM, not having the top recruits, not having all Americans, has made it to 2 Sweet 16s and an Elite 8. So right. When we go to Bill Belichick, I think he definitely has to win without Tim Brady in order to cement his legacy as one of the greatest coaches of all time. Because if he did it all with Tom Brady, and then without Tom Brady, he can't win, I don't think that makes him one of the top coaches of all time.
I agree. I agree with you. And I think you do have to hold him to that standard, because others have already held that. Pat Riley, he won it with the Lakers. He won it with the Heat. And had success with the Zoe and Timmy teams also, but the guy won. Oh, and by the way, the Knicks too with Ewing
mm-hmm.
and God, what's the name of the guard? Starks.
Right.
That's pretty amazing to get as far as they got with those guys, and that's what great coaches do. That I've got to see significant success with different generations, different faces, if I'm going to give you that label of GOAT. For me, the GOAT is actually still Joe Gibbs, because to win 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks and none of them are Hall of Famers in the NFL, that's the greatest feat I've ever seen of a coach. Then comes Shula with 17-0, but Joe Gibbs, my God, that shows you what a Hall of Fame coach he was.
Right.
System won it with 3 different quarterbacks. That's amazing.
I agree.
All right, so I got to say, I feel for you on Saturday. I mean,
Oh God, I didn't leave the stadium until
Tuesday.
2:20 in the morning. I got home after 3 a.m.
Yeah, I saw Panizo tweet out, and I'm at the Killers concert, and I'm literally like sitting right next to the singer. So I tweeted back a picture. Meanwhile, at the Killers concert, and so there was that. That's one thing I did not envy, and I am so glad I wasn't working and I was able to enjoy the night. But I felt bad for you guys because first it was going to be postponed to the next day, and then they decided to play it. But hey, listen, Higuain got that second goal,
Yeah.
which was huge. They end up winning the game, which is just absolutely enormous against the team you're chasing.
Yeah.
So, right now I was talking about this, Michelle. They're basically in the playoffs right now. That's what it is from here, week to week, game to game. You got to win. You want to get in,
win.
right?
They have to win. They have 4 games left. That's it. They have 4 games left, 2 on the road and 2 at home. The next 2 are on the road, and then the final 2 are at home. And, they're playing the next 2 games on the road are against the bottom 2 teams. DC United is the last place team, and Toronto is the second to last place team. Those are the 2 teams they play next on the road. DC United is now coached by Wayne Rooney, who's trying to turn things around, but they've really struggled this year.
Yeah.
So they've got to beat DC United up there, Toronto up there. Those teams are both at the bottom of the table. And then they have to come home and try to beat more difficult Orlando City, which is number 5, and then Montreal, which already clinched a spot at number 2. Now, Montreal, maybe since it'll be the last game of the season and they've already clinched, who knows if they rest players or whatever. I have no idea if they're going to play all their starters or they're going to rest people because it'll be the last game of the season. They already clinched by now. They clinched like last week. So I don't know how motivated Montreal will be, but they're a very good team. And Orlando City. So, yeah, they have 4 games left. And, if they win all 4, they're going to make it. And if they win 3 and they get some help from it's one of those, you have to win and you have to get help from other teams. They're not as fortunate as Philadelphia, Montreal, and the Red Bulls. Those 3 have already clinched. So now spots 4, 5, 6, and 7 are still up for grabs. And the thing is, what I would say with MLS and some of the fans who get all bent out of shape if they lose one game or whatever, there's so much parity in this league. Outside of the top few teams, all the rest of the teams are basically the same. So, I'm looking at the standings here at the table, from 4th place with 46 points down to 10th place, 38 points. That's not that much. So
Nope.
There's a big clot of teams that are all fighting for those last couple of playoff spots. And Miami is right in the mix. And yes, Gonzalo, remember how we were talking about him early in the season? The guy,
Terrible.
Since the arrival of Pozuelo, he is a different player with Pozuelo in there. And he talked about it at length the other day that last year he basically only trusted his brother to deliver him the ball. And now he has full confidence in Pozuelo. He said that the 2 of them have almost telepathy on the field, that Pozuelo will make a tiny little gesture to him that only he sees, and he knows exactly where he has to go, and then Pozuelo will deliver him the ball on his foot. And then once that happens, he's very good at finishing. But yeah, he said that the problem before was that he was trying to do too much. He was trying to create.
Yeah, he doesn't have the athleticism to create.
He can't create. Yeah. No. But he's running now. He's slimmer than he's ever been since he got here. He ran that first goal. He was sprinting with Ariel Lassiter. I mean, not as fast as Lassiter, but he ran and he got up there and got in position to score, to receive that pass.
Yeah.
Also, he was motivated. Jonathan Mensah, the captain of the crew, maybe made a mistake, but in a pregame interview on Thursday or Friday, he said that their strategy was going to be to possess the ball as much as possible and make Gonzalo and Pozuelo chase them because they don't like to run and they can't run. He basically said that Pozuelo and Higuain cannot run and don't like to run, and so their goal was going to be to make them run. And so Phil Neville clipped that out. Literally, it's like out of a movie. Clipped that out and put it up on the bulletin board in the locker room. He also texted it to both players, and that became an extra motivation. And so if you saw Gonzalo sprinting for that ball in the first half, right past Mensa, by the way, that provided extra motivation. And then Gonzalo pointed out, he didn't like, he basically said, he was asked about it, and he said, well, you should be careful what you say before a game, because in this case, that player ended up injured in the first half and had to leave the game. And we won the game with 2 goals that I scored. So, basically, neener,
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, that was a really, really big win for them. 2.5 hour lightning delay. That was not fun. It really was, 2 different games. And when they came back, InterMiami was just seemed to have much more energy and motivation than the Crew did after the long delay. So the game resumed at 11:35 p.m.
Give me an over and under. How many fans stayed after that 2.5 hour delay?
How many fans stayed?
Just the supporters. That's it.
I guess. No, there were a few sprinkled in. I mean, I would say a couple hundred stayed. Maybe 200 people were there. Yeah.
Wow. That's
2.5
hours. I was like
2.5 hours just sitting and not knowing, although they said from the beginning, I had been told that they're going to try to get it in because there just aren't enough open dates. The international, the FIFA window starts this Sunday. They have a FIFA break of all of next week. So they can't play any games during that window. And then basically the season's almost over. So, and there were also issues with the referees when they could get the referee crew. So, excuse me, they really wanted to finish the game that night, no matter how late it finished. And they did. And it worked out well for InterMiami.
All right, let me ask what could be a screwed up question here. Is it possible that they may think of bringing back Higuain now because he has played well? Or is it possible that he could be an insurance policy that if they don't get a DP that they specifically want, they may try to bring Higuain back? Because the talk was that he was going to walk away and pretty much retire, but he's had, a resurrection here. And if they're going to bring back Pozuelo, is that something that he is even talked about now? Or do you feel like, no, they're going to still move on when it's all said and done in the end?
It's funny. I had that thought when I was driving home from the game the other night. I'm like, wow, I wonder if he's going to want. It wasn't so much what the team wants to do. I was thinking to myself, I wonder if he is going to want to extend one, because earlier this season, the way he was talking and a rumor that came out that he had told his dad that this was it. And then he said, no, that's just my dad talking crap, But he said, I'm going to make the decision at the end of this season, and I'm going to be the one who's going to announce it, not my father, and all this stuff. But I think his plan, I believe, was to retire at the end of the season. His contract ends, and he was struggling earlier in the season. He was struggling. The fans were booing. He was not having fun. He was not enjoying it at all. He looked miserable out there. As my mom always says, tenía cara de tronco.
Well, so do we watching it. So it's all right.
We all had cara de tronco. Anyway, but lately he said he is enjoying again. He's loving the game again. And I can just tell you from being around him, he's all of a sudden available for interviews. He's talking to us. Every time I see him now, he will walk over and give me a fist bump. Hola, Michelle, ¿cómo estás? He fist bumps the reporters at the practices. He's like super animated, leading the group, laughing, joking. I mean, I'm telling you, I've watched this guy since 2020. This is not how he had been before. He's almost transformed into his brother. I mean, he's gotten slimmer. It's like the skinnier he gets, the closer he gets to his brother's personality too. Because his brother is a wonderful guy, and was great in the locker room and team leader and all that kind of stuff. And Gonzalo is much more like his brother now than he ever was. He's in very good shape and he's enjoying the game. And so I was thinking on my long ride home the other night at 3 a.m, one of my thoughts was, I wonder if he's going to want to stay. I wonder if he's going to ask them if he can stay, The thing is, I don't know that they would want to pay $5 million as his
That's
salary.
the thing. That's the
He
thing.
is right now. He has scored 9 goals in the last 12 games. Over the last 12 games, he's, perhaps the leading scorer in the league. I don't know.
You don't even have a shot at the playoffs if without his play.
No, he has carried the team. He is carrying the team right now. No one else is scoring. Campana was out for 6 weeks, and now he's back. But, he played 30 minutes the other day. He didn't score in his 30 minutes.
So he's not going to be in a groove right now, man. It's going to take him a little bit to get back in a groove.
Yeah. So Gonzalo's it. Gonzalo Pozuelo. That combination that's their biggest chance to score, and he's happy. And it's almost like when people say when Mama's happy, everybody's happy in the house.
Yeah.
When Gonzalo is happy, it rubs off on the other players, and when he's grumpy, that also rubs off on the other players because no matter what they think of him, he is a legend. Phil said that the other day they had like a little banter in the locker room, and they asked every player on the team how many championships they've won, like league championships in whatever league they played professionally. And Gonzalo completely trumped everybody. He had 15, and he's had 15 titles. And Phil said that the other players were like 2, someone had 3. And then Gonzalo had 15
combined. The rest of them might have 15 combined.
Yeah. So, I mean, his resume and his experience and, one of the reporters the other day, began a question by saying, you've scored 300 goals, at Real Madrid and Juventus and the Argentine national team. I mean, the guy has experience, and he's showing that he still has the skill to put the ball in the net with power and with precision. It's just, that's been the story of the second half of the season is the resurrection, like you said, the resurrection of Gonzalo.
All right, Sunday, 5:00. What's the prediction, Michelle? Do they keep the playoff hopes alive? Do they beat a beatable team?
I will say that they're going to beat DC. DC has been really bad. I mean, they've had a couple of ties, I think, since Rooney took over. But they had some really, really embarrassing losses earlier. Now, now they have a new coach. He's making some changes. The players are energized to try to prove to him that they should stay because he's going to clean house. He's going to clean house at the end of the season. So these guys are playing for their future. They're going to be at home. So they have motivation, not for the playoffs. They're in last place and they're out. But those guys are going to be motivated to keep their jobs, But I have to believe, let me put it this way. If they don't beat DC at DC, then they probably don't deserve to be a playoff team. I'm just going to say that. They need to go and beat the last place team when all the marbles are on the table. They need to step up and win a road game. They lost, they had a really bad run on the road, 3 losses in a row on the road going into this game last weekend. So that is a very bad road run. And so now they want to show that they can win on the road against the last place team. I think they will win, and they should win. If they don't win, then, they probably don't deserve to be a playoff team.
All right. Follow her on Twitter at Kauf Sports. Catch her work there at the Miami Herald. She is Michelle Kaufman. Michelle, enjoy the weekend and enjoy
you too.
Football on Sunday. Thank you for taking some time.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. There you go. The great Michelle Kaufman joining us here on the program. Love it. Love it.